Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
We're riding through Gotham with the podcast crew. Bats in us up, yeah, we're on the move. Talking Batman tales, we're telling what's true. Gotham Knights breaking down each clue. TBOF, bring the heat. Talking Batman ain't that sweet. Tune in for the crime and lore. Batman nation, we want more. Laugh, the Bane's mighty roar, Arkham secrets and so much more. Dive into shadows, legends reborn through the darkest night. The baddest swarm, TBOF, bringing the heat. Talking Batman ain't that sweet. Tune in for the crime and lore. Batman nation, we want more.
The Adventures of Batman, welcoming you to the new adventures of Batman.
Welcome to episode 57 of Batmanimation, a Batman on Film podcast, revisiting the animated adventures of the Caped Crusader. I'm senior contributor Javi Trujillo, and joining me is the lobbyist for a VHS release of the show we're about to talk about, Bill Jett Ramey. Bill, what's going on? Did you order that multiverse Adam West Batman figure?
I did.
Oh, look at that. You got it already. Nice.
Yeah. It came yesterday.
You go through the McFarlane store?
This one came from GameStop.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess
Either
it's about time.
Either McFarlane was their shipping is always high as hell.
Yeah. I mean, the upside is you get it first.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah.
Usually I try to get it at Amazon because I have Prime and it's free shipping. So I think it was sold out on Prime and GameStop have it. Shipping was all right. So yeah, I got it.
It finally went back up on Prime yesterday or the day before. So I placed my order, but it says it won't get here till like the end of September. So
okay.
Like,
well, it'll get there.
Guess I'll wait. Yeah, it'll get here. And once it's here, I mean, I'll have it. So
yeah. I was supposed to see the Batman Wednesday night.
That was going to be my next question.
I had my tickets and everything, and Micah asked me if I'd watch his dog from Wednesday to Monday. So I said yes. So I stayed home with the dog because me and Jake were ready to go, and I didn't want to leave both dogs here. I mean, I have Graceland's here already, then Bonnie would be here, Micah's dog. So anyway, I didn't go, but shout out to Chapman Undergraph. You know him from the Facebook group. He went to that screening and picked me up the Bat Signal bucket and the poster. Cool. And I'm meeting him for a few beers on Monday, early Monday afternoon, in which I will be able to pick up my Bat Signal.
I didn't know there was a poster. Is it for the Batman or was it for the Penguin?
I'm not sure. There's a poster. I think it's for the Batman. I'm not sure. Maybe the Penguin. My bad. So
I feel
I think it's for
Facebook
the Penguin
group post showing it off.
Yeah. So So I wanted to see it on the big screen again.
Yeah.
But when I found out that there was that bucket, I really wanted to go for that, probably more so. But look, I'll put it in. I'll put the Blu-ray in and watch it today, make up for it. How about that?
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe this weekend, um, giving it another go. But I definitely want to watch it at least once before the Penguin actually drops. And
Yes.
what is it, like less than 3 weeks now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So
It'll like be 2 weeks from Thursday, right? Is the
yeah,
19th the
something like
first
that.
day? Well, let me say this. If you're listening to this, we're
That's
recording on
true.
August 30th.
We're a
So when
little
we're
ahead of
talking about,
schedule.
so yeah. So you're probably listening to this. It's probably, you're in the future. We're in the past a couple weeks. Okay. We're doing some time travel here. So yeah, the Batman, that was just 2 days ago when it was back on the big screen. And then the Penguin right now is about 3 weeks out. So by the time you're hearing this, it may be the week of or a week before. So anyway, a little
Did
Back to the
you
Future going on here.
hear anything about what was shown?
Yes, he did tell me it was more like a making of type
Okay.
sizzle reel, you know. Um, he was going to write up something, and I said, beyond, I said, was it enough to really write about? And he said, probably not. And I said, don't sweat it. So don't sweat, it's what I wish they would have done. And they could have shown, I wish they had shown the first episode. That would have been cool.
The Alamo Drafthouse is doing that.
Okay.
I got the email they were showing the first episode, at least in their Austin markets,
Okay.
and clicked on the link and it was like already sold out.
You kidding me
So,
already?
yeah, yeah. And
What
I was
day
like,
is
well,
that?
I think it might have been the release day.
Is it?
I have to look,
I think I knew about this.
but I'm working that day, unfortunately. So I'm like, well, I can't go
Okay.
anyway.
I
So I
think I
guess it
knew
didn't
about
matter
this.
that I couldn't go.
I think Haas sent me this a while back.
Oh, it was on September 12th. September 12th was when they were doing it.
Oh, it's a week before.
If you're part of their Victory membership,
Yeah.
all you have to do is buy like a food voucher because they can't profit on, the show itself. But yeah, it sold out. I was only in one theater in Austin, but I'm like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to wait like the rest of the world.
You
It
know
would have
what?
been
Well,
nice to have seen it on a big screen though.
even though that's one episode that sold out, I mean, one screening, one theater, that's still, for it selling out, that kind of speaks to there's some
Some
desire,
heat.
you
Yeah.
know, to see this thing. So look, it's got the most prime airing spot on HBO. I mean, it's the time slot of The Sopranos and so, House, Game of Thrones, all those they're big shows. That's Sunday nights at 8 Central, 9 Eastern. That's their number one. So they must be they're really confident in this thing. So
I would hope so.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
did you get?
go ahead.
Did you get the cup as well?
Did not get
Was
the
it
cup, I
Lauer?
don't believe. Lauer got the
Yeah,
cup. He posted
Lauer
that
got
on,
the cup.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't know there was a cup either.
I didn't know that until I saw some of the pictures people were posting.
Yeah. Like I couldn't make the 6 o'clock show, and the 10 o'clock show would have been way too late for me that day. If you factor in it's a 3 hour movie, it's AMC, so there's 30 minutes of commercials. And then the special, whatever the Penguin was, I was doing the math. I'm like, that's
That's
getting
like
out
one
at like
o'clock.
1:40 in the morning at
Yeah,
that point.
yeah, yeah.
So I was like, and at least I took comfort in the fact that it while it was in Dolby Cinema here, I'm like, the last time I saw it, was in Dolby Cinema at that theater. So I've had
Okay.
that experience. It was just, 2 years ago.
I'm willing to
Which
bet.
crazy to think.
I'm willing to bet that sooner rather than later, the Batman will be on the big screen again. I just had to
Yeah.
guess.
I mean, it's Batman. So I think in September, the Alamo Drafthouse is showing Batman Forever and Batman Mask of the Phantasm, probably to
Okay.
tie in with, Batman Day, I would imagine next month.
Yeah.
But I've taken the kids to see Phantasm a few times when they were growing up, but they haven't seen Batman Forever yet. I'm not sure if my daughter's interested at this point, but I bet you I could get Jack to go. He really liked those growing up when he was a kid. So
I saw it when they released those. What was that? 5 years ago now? Was that for
yeah,
the 80th?
it
Golly.
was for
Yeah,
the
when they had
80th.
them.
They did the
I went,
four.
yeah, I went by. I did 89 and Forever. It's two I
Yeah,
went to see on the big
we
screen.
just did 89. So yeah, I might go see that.
Yeah,
I think it'd be worth it.
I may do that myself. All right. You ready to talk some
Yeah, talk some
animated
bat.
Batman?
Yeah.
All
Today
right.
we are going to shine that bat signal yet again on the latest animated incarnation of the Batman Cape Crusader. And of course, we're talking spoilers here, so if you haven't seen it by now, log into your Amazon Prime, give it a watch, come back here. Dropping August 1st, 2024, Moving Target is the seventh episode of the series, directed by Christina Soda and written by Adama Ebo and Adane Ebo. And of course, for the cast, we've got Hamish Linklater as Batman, Michelle C. Bonilla as Renee Montoya, Crystal Joy Brown as Barbara Gordon, John DiMaggio as Bullock, Eric Morgan Stewart as Gordon, Commissioner Gordon, rather, Jason Watkins as Pennyworth, Gary Anthony Williams as Flass, Reed Scott as Onomatopoeia, and Roger Craig Smith as Corrigan. Now, Roger Craig Smith, if you're not familiar, not only is he the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog in a lot of the video games, which Sonic 3 just got its trailer the week of this recording, but Roger Craig Smith is another Batman in the show because he is the voice of Batman in Batman Arkham Origins and the new VR Batman Arkham game that's coming out, I think within the next year. So he's got some Batman history, and he's also done some of those other animated Batman
Mm-hmm.
movies. The Batman Unlimited show. There wasn't a show, it was like a series of movies. So he's got some Batman cred too. So that would make him the second returning Batman voice actor. But for the plot, in the aftermath of a botched assassination attempt on Commissioner Gordon's life, Montoya vows to do everything in her power to protect Gordon. Batman's investigation into who was behind the hit leads him down a rabbit hole with only one clear answer: trust no one. So we open with Barbara winning the case with her client being released, leading to an ethical debate with her father. The argument gets interrupted by an assassination attempt on the commissioner's life. Bill, how did you like seeing the Cape Crusader version of Floyd Lawton, who most people know as Deadshot?
Yeah, it's on par with how this series does a lot of their DC winks and nods, Easter eggs, if you want to call them that. You know, I mean, Corrigan is in this episode again, and he's probably not going to end up being the Spectre, but I mean, yeah, I mean
Yeah.
he was an assassin. I mean, this Floyd Lawton, so yeah, just a nod to
Yeah, he's
Deadshot.
not tricked out. He doesn't have like his
Yeah.
iconic eyepiece over anything. And he's not referred to as Deadshot, but the original version debuted in Batman Volume 1, number 59 from June 1950. And that version, like all, Golden Age ones, a little bit different than what we're familiar with now. He was
Hmm.
more of like he had like a top hat. He had like
Hmm.
a more of a showman vibe to him.
Yeah.
So while this isn't a one for one to that, it at least leans more closer to that
Yeah.
era.
Yeah.
So, but it's kind of like a blink and you'll miss it. No pun intended, talking
Yeah.
about Deadshot. But those closest to Gordon want him to go into protective custody, but he's against it. And as Barbara ponders the situation in her office late at night, she gets startled by the Batman. Did you appreciate seeing this trope in the show?
Well, of course. I mean, you got to have that a few times when you're doing Batman. You know, he's got to just appear. And um, I do like it, if you're watching these, hopefully in order, which you should. You know, part of the overall story is Batman very slowly building relationships with the few good people, either in in government, police, whatever, district attorney's
Yeah.
office, in case of Barbara, public defender's office. And it's this one is just further along now as we're in episode 7, where he's appearing out of the blue and to meet with her. So yeah, I like that kind of stuff, and I like it. It's continuing this, furthering the relationship between her and Batman.
Do you think that over the course of the show she'll become Batgirl? Or do you think they're not gonna extend the family out that way? What would be
I
your
don't
guess and
I
what would be
don't
your
know if they
preference?
I well, my preference would not to be Batgirl. I don't want the sidekicks in the Batman family. That's just my personal taste. I think that I think she's become something more than what she is now. I think she's starting to question, well, especially you get to the end of this episode.
Yeah.
The whole thing with it's been in the a few times in the first, well, this is 7 now. Her and Gordon have had back and forth about basically her being a public defender and helping people who have committed crimes. She looks beyond just the crime to the everything, and try to get to help these
The
folks.
extenuating circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the events of this episode, I think, are starting to make her question herself.
Yeah.
And that's something that we can talk about when we get to the very end here. But yeah, I mean, it could be like John Blake in Dark Knight Rises, where he couldn't, the shackles, he was shackled, and he needed to do more.
Yeah. That's a
And
good analogy. Yeah.
and then of course, in the way of Chris Nolan, whatever he ended up doing could be whatever you imagined. Whatever fan fiction, whatever your imagination would come up with in the further adventures of John Blake, would be legit, if you ask Chris. And I don't know where they're going with her. I don't know if it's full on Batgirl. I don't know if it's just that would fit this show, but she's clearly becoming an ally. I don't want to we're in episode 7. We're getting closer to the end. She's going to end up being some sort of ally to Batman. An overt, by her own choosing. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes in season 2.
I mean, the trust is definitely getting built up between the two,
Yes.
especially in this episode. So the first time he popped up in her office in this episode, like, it actually made me laugh, just the way they framed it and the shock that she had. We've seen it so much that at this point, like, revisiting that trope, it was kind of funny to see. And then in typical Batman fashion, when we pull out again and see more of the room, like, he's gone. And so we get both sides of the
Mhm.
disappearing and appearing out of nowhere, which was it was fun to see that. Um, from there, Batman goes and infiltrates prison, which it felt very Shawshank Redemption because just the guards were like just they literally beat a guy to death, and it was like, oh, that sucks because he owed me
Mhm.
money. And so he goes to get more answers, and he learns of a hit squad that's arriving in Gotham to take Gordon out, leading to the entrance of Onomatopoeia. What did you think of his design, and how familiar are you with the character as created by Kevin Smith in the Pages of Green Arrow Volume 3, number 12,
Yeah,
which was like 2002?
I was aware of the character. I think this is probably the first time I've seen the character in any media,
Okay.
whether a comic book or whatever. And I went and did some research. I know he's been on a couple, one or two other animated things he's popped up in.
I think there was like a Green Arrow short that he was a part
Yes,
of,
yes,
and
yes,
Wikipedia will tell you that the characters in Superman and Lois season 3, but I don't, it's definitely not like the comic book version. And I don't think they refer to them as onomatopoeia on the show. I think that might be more wishful thinking on whoever updated that
yeah,
page because it's not the what makes that character is not how they appear on the show, like
yeah.
saying
So
words and whatnot.
yeah, this is the first experience, well, that
Did
for me. Yeah,
did you read the two Kevin Smith Batman miniseries
the
that have the
widening
character
gyre. Is that
Whiting
it?
Gyre and
Gyre.
Cacophony?
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, I didn't read those. I have
Okay.
not read those. I actually have them and have not read them. So,
Well, yeah, I don't know if you need to. If you want to see, learn the truth that Batman peed himself during year one when he tried to intimidate Falcone's dinner party.
I am
And
I'm a Kevin Smith fan.
yeah,
I like a lot
me
of
too.
I like, that View Askew universe and, those movies. Uh, but I know he's a huge Batman fan. He's got,
Yeah. I mean, he had
Batman
his own.
Beyond, he's still got the podcast. But the way he writes just doesn't jibe with the way I like to read
Yeah.
Batman stories, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, he's very verbose
Yeah.
and prolific with his prose, and that's not necessarily Batman.
Yeah. So
So,
not to get on another topic, but yeah, I
well,
mean, no, so I haven't read
the
it. No. So there you go.
the main reason not to read it
Yeah.
is the second volume ends on a cliffhanger, and that was
And
10,
never
15
finished.
years ago.
Yeah.
We're still waiting because they said the comic book men show got in the way of Walt finishing the art, but that show's done. So
Yeah.
it's if you go into it, like it's interesting, but like there's no conclusion. And like I said, it's a cliffhanger. So
Okay.
it could be frustrating to go to it. But also interview that he didn't think it was something that could be adapted into other media because of leaning on onomatopoeia. It's one thing to see the character fire a gun and say blam,
Mm-hmm.
and another to, hear it because it doesn't, it's not quite one for one. It
Mm-hmm.
works really well on the page, hearing like drip, 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 but
Yeah.
it's totally different in show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, did it feel out of place to you since this is
No.
kind of
No.
like your first experience?
Mm-mm. No. I got what they were doing here. And
Yeah.
the first time I watched it, it was like, okay, this guy doesn't say anything. He makes sounds of, you know,
Yeah.
pow and drip
Crash.
and, crash,
Yeah.
words that words that describe sounds,
Yeah. It I was
So
surprised
yeah,
because, well,
yeah,
that it felt eerie on the page, and I didn't know if it would translate, but for me, it did. I
yeah,
thought it actually worked well, at least in animation.
yeah. It was fine.
Um, on the way to the safe house, Gordon and his team get ambushed, leading to one of the officers getting wounded, and things get complicated further when their vehicle breaks down. So they opt to hide in the Wayne Gardens housing development that is still under construction, which for me, that made me think of the climax of Lethal Weapon 3. Uh, did this establish a good sense of tension for you?
Yeah, it worked well because they were confined to this model home, you know,
Yeah.
and in the middle of nowhere without transportation, and the fact that literally, I mean, it ends up proving to be the case. You don't know who to trust, you know. Essentially, I think Gordon and Barbara and Montoya, those three know they can trust each other. Outside of that, it's crapshoot when it comes to the Gotham police force.
The episode moved really fast, I
It
felt
does.
like. I
Yeah.
mean, we only have like 22 minutes at best to begin with. Um, but just the way like it just went from the first attempt to like we got to get you out of here to trying to get him to a safe place, like
Yeah.
the pacing was really quick and just how everything seemed to go wrong and they were getting fenced in. Like I thought they did a great job building up a sense of tension in such a short amount of time. That I really liked it. Uh, and as Batman's piecing things together, like we hear stuff on the radio, we get some little Easter eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Dozier Road,
Yeah.
which I'm sure you know who that is.
Yeah. William Dozier, the producer of Batman the 60s series. So
There's also an intersection of Wheeler and Nicholson. So
yeah.
some people were thinking that was a reference to Jack Nicholson. Did you catch what they were really going for, or what I assumed they were really going for with that?
That one I missed, I think. Maybe I heard the
Okay.
Nicholson.
So there's a gentleman by the name of Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson, and he's notable for creating DC Comics. He's the founder of DC Comics.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So, yeah,
There
with
was
like
another,
National Allied publications.
yes. Okay, these episodes are running, these little things are kind of running together now since I've been rewatching these. Was it in this episode or was it the Harley episode where the intersection was Wilson and the guy,
I think that was the Harley one.
was it Lewis? Because they were, it was the first two actors who played Batman, Lewis Wilson and
Yeah.
why am I
Oh
missing
my
that
God.
name? I'll get my
Because
Batman card taken away from me.
I always remember Wilson the most because his son is one of the producers on the James Bond franchise. Yeah, I'm stumped. That's horrible, horrible radio. But I like that they're giving us these small little. I always like the little name homages. There's a
Lowry,
lot of them.
yes,
There we go. Is it
Robert
Robert
Lowry,
Lowery?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah,
I appreciate seeing the little creator name drops in like
yeah.
street names and stuff. Like it doesn't take me out of it because I think for most people it's going to go over their head. Depending on how entrenched in the fandom they
Mm-hmm.
are. So I think it's a nice way to get it in, as long as they're not being like
If you're
too like wink wink about it.
the only, and this is I think the next episode, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The only time that I really kind of got a little annoyed with the Easter eggs were and thought it was really, you know,
Hitting you on the
very
head.
over the top, was the Robins in the
Oh,
Nocturna.
yeah.
episode. So we'll talk about that when we get there. So
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. It's the Harley Quinn episode where she mentions meet me later at Hopper's on Wilson and Lowry.
Wilson and Lau, yeah.
So Lewis Wilson and Robert Lowry. So that cool little Easter eggs there. Um, so before we get to the main action, we're going to take a quick ad break to hear from our sponsors. Welcome back. So the siege of the model home begins, and we get a shootout and the timely arrival of Batman. And I want to take a moment here to mention the score by Frederick Weidman. Up until this point of the episode, it's been fairly noirish, brilliantly setting the mood. But the action really kicks in here, and he just does a phenomenal job. And as it kicks in like to the action mode, like it in parts reminded me of like the score for LA Confidential, like the shootout at the end. And also, Batman. It sounds like it would be in a Batman show or movie. How did you like it in this episode? And what are your thoughts on it overall? Have you been listening to the digital version of the soundtrack?
I have not, but I've watched these episodes 2 or 3 times each as I go back through it. So I'm hearing it. I made a note about the noir music in this episode, especially at that end. The end, when they're kind of happy, when they're loading the guys up in the police car and Corrigan
and
is
the ambulance and stuff.
Yeah. But I've really liked. I like the score. I like the soundtrack quite a bit. It's subtle, but very good, I think.
And it's different than work he's done before on like prior Batman shows. So
Yes,
I like that it has its own identity.
Yeah, it fits this show very well.
And how awesome was that fist fight between Batman and Onomatopoeia, especially that last punch by Batman?
Yeah, I did enjoy the homage to Zap Pal and Wham, and all the from the '60s series, and even Batman participates, with a pal there with the knockout punch. It was I that one I liked. I did like that quite a bit.
And it's fun, but it's also like serious. Like they struck like the perfect tone.
Yeah.
Because like on one hand, you've got like Batman Forever, where Robin's like, "Holy rusted metal, Batman," and Batman's like, "Huh?" And like the ground, it's all holy rusted, and he's like, "Oh," where it's like, "All right." Like you're having fun with it, but it's very obvious what they're trying to do, and it stands out. And in this, it was because of who the villain was. Like it was the perfect opportunity.
Yeah, that was
to
very
pay tribute
clever.
to that without,
yeah,
like you said, very very clever. And here's like the big moment with the main villain seemingly defeated. We get a twist, and that's that Jim Gordon was never the target. So we find out it was Barbara when Corrigan pulls a gun on her while they were alone in the house. Were you dismayed to see him be corrupt, or were you excited by the revelation?
He was one that I wasn't completely. I mean, they do a good job of. You kind of are like, along with Gordon and Montoya and Barbara, where you don't know who to trust, but they did a good job of building it up to think you thought, oh, Corrigan's one of the good ones,
Yeah.
So that kind of that little twist that it was actually the hit was on her, and then he took the contract, to kill her for the money. I thought it was a good little plot twist, and you kind of went, "Oh man, you too." So
Yeah, and we'll get into the corruption here in a little bit, but like Corgan in like the comics, I think he gets killed and then
Hmm.
gets resurrected as the Spectre.
Yeah.
So he still kind of has the dual identity. And um so knowing that there's a Jim Corrigan who, becomes a founding member of the JSA, like it gives you as an audience member, if you're familiar with like the comics, like this is someone you can trust. Um and to have him be on the dark side,
Yeah.
just shows you how far gone this Gotham is. And if I don't think it's without precedent either. Um, I can't remember the exact origins of it, but there was a time in DC history where he was corrupt. Corrigan was. And that may have led into the Spectre like being like his way of redemption. I don't remember.
Okay.
I want to say it was around Infinite Crisis era, and
Okay.
that led to someone else becoming the Spectre. Like he was the one that betrayed the guy who got killed and then became the new Spectre. But it's been over a decade since I've read it. But
Okay.
so there is a precedent
Yeah.
from my memory for him having a darker side. Um, so it was kind of cool to see that them use that. And because I don't really feel like they're breaking the character by having him break bad.
No.
So I appreciate it. And it was a good reveal because I didn't see it coming whatsoever. Um, and Barbara visits the man who put a hit on her in prison. And the episode does a fantastic job of just establishing how corrupt the justice system is in Gotham. So let's get into that. What did you think of this whole aspect? Because the whole show kind of borders on um Barbara's altruism and faith in the system,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
how the whole episode is like reasons why you shouldn't have faith in it.
Hmm.
Which
Yeah.
they accomplish a lot in 20 minutes.
Yes. Yeah. I'd mentioned this previously. It's she goes and sees him. Mueller, I believe. Was that this
Yeah,
character's
Mueller.
name? And Batman already had gotten to him. So, his nose is broke, you know. Um, and it's basically okay, it's like why, why did you do this? And he's pissed because he's in the prison. It's in Blackgate, right?
I think so. I think they
Okay.
call it that.
Yeah. And she's like, I got you the best deal, you know,
Yeah.
possible that I could have get you. And then you put a hit out on me. And he's like, I don't belong here. I'm not like these. And it's kind of like she had an epiphany, especially goes back to what her and her father were arguing about in the beginning.
At the beginning, yeah.
Yeah. And he says, I don't belong here. And she goes, you know what? Yeah, I think you do, and leaves. Of course, he's canceled the hit, and because, the Batman scared the shit out of him. And she's walking out, and then she just has this moment where she just drops her head, and that's how it ends. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
it was pretty, a lot went on in this little short episode. A lot of furthering characters and characters having epiphanies like Barbara. It's really good. I really like this episode quite a bit.
No, it's very film noir to have that kind of a downbeat ending for her, and
Mm-hmm.
and to get her soul just a little bit crushed by everything. And
Yeah.
and I mean, like he hired a hit on her.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he kind of does belong in there. It wasn't
Yeah.
like you got the impression from the first guy that she released, or the guy she released at the start of the
Yeah.
episode,
Yeah.
that maybe there were some extenuating circumstances, like you don't really get into it. Like maybe he did the wrong thing for the right reasons.
Yeah.
He definitely didn't feel like this guy here who's ordering the murder of someone else. So it I like just how complicated it was for
And
her.
there was an arrogance about him, like, I'm not one of these,
Yeah.
these petty low class criminals. I'm a boss and I don't deserve to be in here. You know,
Yeah.
um, it worked well. This was very well written episode. It's almost very much a Barbara Gordon episode
Yeah.
in a way. And I like they've given these other characters, there's times where they've all got a chance to shine. She plays a big role in the episode
In the
5,
finale.
And the finale. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, episode 5, her friendship with Dr. Quinzel, and, come to finding out she's got this alter ego who's not so good. I mean, there's a lot going on with Barbara. I like this Barbara Gordon, this character, what they're doing with her quite a bit.
Yeah, I think they position her and reimagine her in a way that's very fitting for this time period, and to give her a place of importance that she has in like the current or what becomes like the more modern interpretation of her, but for this time period, because obviously she can't be Oracle. There are no computers, there's no internet. But to have her, tap into the world of Gotham, and they get into like some class stuff as well, briefly, just to kind of
Yeah.
give you an idea of how she was grown up, and Montoya kind of chiding her for
Not living in the city.
for not living in the city, for being in the more, bright and safe suburbs. And she's like, it wasn't that
I just
great,
crossed the river,
you know?
we just lived across the river,
Yeah. And it wasn't because we had like lots of money or anything. Like it was from like her grandfather or something
Yeah.
that helped him out. So that's giving her Barbara a taste of the darker side of life. But that's one of the last things I want to ask you about, as we're at episode 7 here, because I've seen a few critiques about the show. How does the Batman balance strike you, especially at this point and for this episode? Do you feel like the supporting characters take over the show at some point, or did you feel like you got a good balance for this one? Because there's not any Bruce Wayne scenes. There's not really any time or place for him in this one.
I have not once thought that this was a supporting character show, or they're focusing on the villains, or they're focusing on Barbara, well, whoever. I think they did a really good job of fleshing out this world, and part of this world are these characters, and part of getting invested in the show is caring about the characters who are in it one way or the other. I posted today, the episode review for podcast and the written review for episode 5, the one with Harley. They did a good job of making you like Harleen Quinzel, the doctor, was a likable character.
Yeah.
Very likable character. And so there was it was a bit of a bummer to see what she had going on as Harley Quinn. And that's good writing, and that's good character development. And I appreciate all, giving these other characters who are part of this Batman world a chance for us to know them and get attached. Again, one way or the other. You may like them, like Bullock and Flass. I have an investment in them because I think Flass is terrible.
Yeah.
And you kind of want to see. You just wonder, when are they going to get what's coming to them? I mean, even in this episode, briefly, there's some of that.
They're
There's,
very, they're
Flash
in
is
a
like,
scene and that's it.
he's like, we're the damn police. So we, essentially we can do what we want. We go beat the hell out of people and in this. So yeah, I no. So long way of saying no. I don't think Batman's getting slighted in this series.
I think that it's hard to have a perspective on it because I did binge so much of it like within the first 48 hours. Um, I think maybe in the middle you get a little bit less of Batman,
Mm-hmm.
like in the group of 10, but because people keep comparing it to Batman the animated series, and I get why,
Well, they got
but it's not
that's their
it's
they got to
not that
stop.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not what
it's
this
its
is.
own
That's
thing. And there are plenty of animated series episodes where Batman's not really the focus or a main character at all. I mean, episode 6 of season 1, It's Never Too Late, is all about an aging mob boss and how he grew up and what made
Mhm.
him that way and what made his best friend a priest. Like that's a lot of like character work for people we never see again in the show, but it's a strong episode. There's not a lot of Batman in it. He's more of like a force in the shadows. And we do get some really good Batman moments in this episode. So
Oh,
while we
there's some
definitely
good,
spent
yeah. There's really
more
good
time
Batman moments.
with Barbara and her father, like I think there was time well spent in making them more realized as characters and seeing how Commissioner Gordon views things and how Barbara Gordon views things and how that causes a, a clash in their family dynamic,
I think they fleshed out these characters maybe better than any animated series.
Yeah.
Um, I really do, and I think there's people who continue to try to make it or want it to be Batman the animated series are just they're they're not doing themselves any favors because it's not Batman the animated series. The
Yeah.
characters are not the same. Harley's not the same. Flash isn't or Bullock's not the same. Batman's not the same. Bruce Wayne's not the same. So yeah, that's where I stand. So I think
And
it's
it's not X-Men 97. We're not picking up with the Timverse, the BTAS,
mhm.
universe
Yeah,
where it left off, or
yeah.
this isn't like a prequel to that show. So, it's its own thing and it's got to be distinct given the fact that there is some visual similarities in the character designs. You've got to make it stand out. Um,
Well, it's
so
Bruce
I'm
Tim.
really,
So I mean, that's the reason.
yeah.
It's like an artist. You know, I think was it
Kelly
you?
Jones artwork looks like Kelly Jones
Yeah,
artwork.
exactly.
You can't mistake it,
It may
He
not be
doesn't
the
draw like
same. It
anyone
may be
else.
Batman,
Yeah.
a Batman story, but it could be completely different universe, nothing related to each other, Batman stuff, but it's still going to look like that, you know?
Yeah.
So,
It's like I like to think of like Nightfall. Like you look at the covers for Nightfall, they're all very distinct.
mhm,
Because Kelly Jones did the majority of those covers. But then you open up the book and it's Jim Aparo or it's
mhm.
Norm Brayfogle or, Graham Nolan. So it's not necessarily, what you get. Um, but they're all like very, it's still Batman and it's still,
Yeah,
just its own unique look and interpretation of it. So,
yeah, yeah,
um, I'm just really happy with this show. And like the more I go back to it, like the more I just appreciate like how much work they get done in such a short amount of time. Like the economy of the storytelling. Um, and you can't go back, as much as I might enjoy like the Superpower show or the New Adventures of Batman, like that I grew up with. Like you can't have like these long debates about stuff or really think about the things they're wrestling with, like the stuff Barbara's dealing with in this
Mhm.
episode. Like you don't
Mhm.
get that kind of depth, and that's what takes it from being just like a kid show to a more mature,
Yeah, it's certainly not a
and this
kid
thing is
show.
like, yeah. So I really appreciate, what they've been doing with this series, and can't wait, man, till we get to season 2, which I have no idea when that's going to come, but it'll be eagerly anticipated once it does arrive.
Yep.
So before we get out of here, what would you say is your favorite part?
Hmm. I'm thinking. You know, it may be, and it's not Batman in it.
Oh,
It was kind of ironic, but it was what we just discussed. I really like the ending when she goes and visits Mueller, and he tells her there's
yeah,
that he took the hit, um, he stopped the hit and canceled it, and all that we talked about, and her, this epiphany she has, and tells him, yeah, I think, yeah, you do deserve to be in here. Leaves, and just that, without any dialogue, just with her walking out. And this is animation now, but there was facial, putting her, closing her, putting her head down, closing her eyes, where she's a little bit defeated. I'd like
yeah,
that. That was a strong scene.
yeah. That was a powerful way to close out the show.
Yeah.
For me, though, like just the pow was my favorite part.
That's, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's the way that he delivers it, and just with the grit and the determination of Batman, and he's not making a joke, but it's pretty awesome. It's a pretty good Batman moment. So I think that's going to do it for us. Where can people find you? You got a website or
Yeah,
anything?
I do. Batman-on-film.com. There you go.
Anything exciting coming up?
Well, I'm enjoying these breakdowns of Cape Crusader, and got the Penguin coming very
Yes, we
shortly.
do.
And then we've got Joker 2 coming very shortly. And then we have the Batman Part 2 ramping up here early next year, or the first half of next year. So yeah, things are picking up. Yeah, but the Penguin, yeah, really, that's going to be some exciting times around here, because it's kind of, to me, it's a quasi sequel to the Batman, you know?
Yeah. What do you think the odds are that we're going to see Pattinson in the first episode?
In the first episode, I doubt. I would say not good. I think the odds are very good that he's in it at some point.
Yeah. I hope it's more than just Bruce Wayne on TV in the background, but we'll see.
That's
We'll
why we're going to watch it. That's one of the reasons why we're going to watch it.
And as for me, obviously, hey, I'm on Batman on Film 2, got Catwoman reviews, Batman and Robin reviews. Not Brave and the Bold this month because Batman wasn't in his own title. So, and then of course we got Batmanimation, and hopefully next month another Hot Toys unboxing. The Batman 1989 Michael Keaton 2.0 figure has been starting to hit other YouTubers, and it's causing a little bit of a controversy with the likeness on the facial sculpt and the texturing of the suit. So I'm eager to see what it looks like in my own hands. Yeah, people feel like it's a little too textured. So, but I don't have an 89 Hot Toys figure, so either way, I think I'm going to be happy. So, but we'll find out. And
we'll look forward to seeing that. Yep.
Yeah. I think that's going to do it for this time in the Bat Cave. Let's have announcer Rachel take us out.
Thanks for listening to Batmanimation, a BatmanOnFilm.com podcast revisiting the animated TV and film adventures of the Caped Crusader. Follow Batmanimation on Twitter at Batmanimation. Follow BOF on Twitter at The Batman on Film. Follow Jett on Twitter at Batman on Film. For Jett and Team BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Batman on Film, authoritative, definitive, the original, established in 1998.